March 25th, 1911. New York City. A Saturday afternoon. Hundreds of young immigrant women are finishing their work shift on the upper floors of a 10-story building in Greenwich Village. In 30 minutes, 146 of them will be dead, and the doors were locked from the outside. This is the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire, the disaster that changed American labor laws forever. And the story behind it will make your blood boil. Let's go back to the beginning. 1911. New York City is the engine of American industry. Millions of immigrants flooding in from Italy, Russia, Eastern Europe, all desperate for work, all willing to accept almost any conditions just to survive. The garment industry dominates Lower Manhattan. Hundreds of factories producing clothing for America's growing middle class. The work is brutal. The hours are endless. The pay is almost nothing. But it's work. And in 1911, work means survival. The Triangle Shirtwaist Company occupies the top 3 floors of the Ash building, floors 8, 9, and 10. Nearly 500 workers, mostly young women, many teenagers, some as young as 14. They work 6 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day, earning $7 a week. The owners, Isaac Harris and Max Blanc, are known as the Shirtwaist Kings. They've built a fortune on cheap immigrant labor. Their factory produces the fashionable blouses that wealthy New York women love, and they run their factory like a prison. Workers are searched when they leave to prevent theft. Bathroom breaks are timed and limited. Talking during work is forbidden. And the doors to the stairwells are locked during work hours. Harris and Blanc's reason: to prevent workers from taking unauthorized breaks or stealing fabric. Their real reason? Control. Complete, total control over hundreds of desperate young women who had nowhere else to go. This decision would kill 146 people. March the 25th, 1911, 4:45 p.m. The workday is almost over. Someone on the 8th floor drops a match or a cigarette into a bin of fabric scraps. In a factory filled with tissue-thin fabric, cotton remnants, and machine oil, the fire spreads in seconds. Within minutes, the entire 8th floor is an inferno. Workers on the 8th floor have one advantage: enough time to reach the stairs. Many escape immediately. Managers call up to warn the 10th floor, but nobody warns the 9th floor. The fire escape collapses under the weight. Dozens fall to their deaths. On the street below, hundreds of New Yorkers have gathered. They watch in horror as young women appear at the windows of the burning building. Some hold hands, some hug each other, some pray, and then they jump. A firefighter named Frank Rubino later testified, "They hit the pavement just like hail." The fire department arrives within minutes, but their ladders only reach the 6th floor, 4 floors short of the trapped workers. Their safety nets aren't strong enough either. The impact of bodies falling 10 stories tears right through them. People are dying on the street. People are dying in the building. And the fire keeps burning. Inside the 9th floor, the smoke is unbearable. The heat is unimaginable. Young women are making impossible choices in their final seconds. Some soak their hair in water from drinking buckets, trying to protect themselves from the flames. Some write their names on pieces of paper and put them in their pockets so their bodies can be identified. Think about that. Teenagers writing their names so someone could identify them. That is the reality of what happened in that building. The fire lasted just 18 minutes. 18 minutes to kill 146 people. When firefighters finally breach the locked doors, what they find inside is beyond description. Young women at their sewing machines, at the locked doors, piled against walls. The youngest victim was 14 years old. On the street, the bodies of those who jumped are covered with tarpaulins. Grieving families push through police barricades, trying to identify their daughters, sisters, mothers. The city is in shock. But what happens next is what makes this story important. New York erupts in fury. Within days, 80,000 people march through the streets of Manhattan in the rain, silently, in mourning, carrying signs with the names of the dead. 350,000 people line the streets to watch. It is one of the largest public demonstrations in American history to that point. Labor organizer Rose Schneiderman gives a speech that echoes through history. "I would be a traitor to these poor burned bodies if I came here to talk good fellowship. The workers of this country have no voice in the making of the laws. The strong hand of the law beats us back when we rise. The life of men and women is so cheap and property is so sacred." Meanwhile, Harris and Blank are arrested and charged with manslaughter. The trial becomes national news. Their defense: they didn't know the doors were locked. They couldn't be held responsible for what they didn't know. The jury acquits them. Both men walk free. The city is outraged. But here's the twist that almost nobody knows. Harris and Blank continue operating their factory. Within months, they're back in business. Within years, they're cited multiple times for locking their factory doors again. They eventually pay civil settlements to the families of the dead. The settlement amount per victim? $75. $75 per life. But here's what the fire did that Harris and Blank couldn't stop. It changed America. Frances Perkins, a young social worker who witnessed women jumping from the building that day, spent the next 20 years fighting for workers' rights. She would eventually become Franklin Roosevelt's Secretary of Labor, the first woman ever appointed to a U.S. cabinet position. She used what she saw at Triangle to pass the most comprehensive worker protection legislation in American history. The laws that came directly from the Triangle Fire: maximum 54-hour workweek, mandatory fire drills, fire sprinklers in factories, unlocked exits during work hours, safe fire escapes, child labor restrictions. Within 2 years of the fire, New York passed 36 new laws protecting workers. These laws became the template for the New Deal decades later. The tragedy of 146 young women built the foundation of American worker protection. Today, the Ash Building still stands in Greenwich Village. It's now a New York University building called the Brown Building. A small plaque on the outside marks what happened there. Most NYU students walk past it every day without knowing. Every year, on March 25th, the Remember the Triangle Fire Coalition holds a ceremony. Names of all 146 victims are read aloud. Flowers are placed. Candles are lit. The youngest victim was 14. The oldest was 43. Most were between 16 and 23. They came from Italy, Russia, Hungary, Germany. They came to America for a better life. They found work in a locked room on the 9th floor of a building in Greenwich Village, and they never went home. But their deaths weren't meaningless. Every workplace safety law you benefit from today has its roots in what happened on that 9th floor. Every fire exit you've ever used without thinking about it. Every sprinkler system overhead. Every smoke detector. Every legal limit on working hours. All of it paid for by 146 young women who went to work on a Saturday afternoon in March 1911 and never came home. This isn't just history. This is a reminder of what happens when profit matters more than people, when workers have no voice, when those in power face no consequences. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire, 146 lives, 18 minutes, and a nation that finally said enough.